whenever, here it is. Yeah, that's even a standard template. And just remove things that we don't need right now. So, because there is a thingy that is called the deadlock graph. So just run it, and we will see something. So my ladies here, now we're going to try to force some deadlock. So this one is starting this way. This is, so Anna starts locking the sales header, Betty starts locking the purchase header. Here we go. So the locks are engaged. So now Anna tries to lock the purchase header, which is already locked by Betty. Locked. This, so far, we just have an ordinary block. Now, if it takes quite long, then our event triggers will start up and then record it. But now, if Betty tries to lock the sales header as well, so we can count 1, 2, yeah, so at maximum 5. So and obviously it was Betty losing this game, and Anna could continue. Just releasing all the locks. So what we have recorded now is these deadlock graphs. And at this point, I always wonder how much spare time they do have in Redmond. Why do they create pictures you can move around? So somebody must be really bored there. I don't know. No. Anyway, this information is something we can use. We have a chance to extract this. Maybe just to stop the tracing here. I can do this just by right-click and do an extraction of a single deadlock graph. If you have thousands of deadlocks or whatsoever, then there's, of course, there's a bulk export feature. So just extracting this graph to my desktop DL. So, and this little funny thing here is XML. Yeah, now we're talking. XML, this is something we can deal with. So we have all the information we need to know about the deadlock. Again, there's everything there, who is blocking whom, who is involved, which queries, which resources, whatsoever. And this XML we can feed to any application that is capable to deal with XML. So in the easiest case, and actually I consider Microsoft Excel as an onboard tool, we simply, when I get it here, just drag, drop to Excel as an XML table. And here we have it back in a clean structure. And you can do all the nice things you want to do, counting, doing your pivots, I don't know, whatever you have in mind. Same story as with the blocks. So to put some light into this issue, to find out what's going wrong. Of course, nobody wants to sit in front of the profiler and handle all this manually and watching and doing extraction and stuff like this. What you can do, everything you assemble in Profiler, you can also export into a SQL script. Yeah, there's some scripting features. And this is what I already have done here. So I exported the script. And using that code, created from Profiler. Whenever it's, yeah. This is the script created by Profiler. Yeah, a profile is just a graphical interface to execute SQL code. So that's actually the same with the management student, all interfacing tools. Yeah, you just need to know that 148, event 148, that is the deadlock graph event. So, and this is just a little bit pimped. So where I specify an output file name, and there's some little file management attached to this job and so on. So this was started automatically when the service starts, creating a background profiler trace. That's this one here. And again, this has a little file management, so all I need to do is start the job again. Okay. So what this little thingy is doing, it's closing the tracing, it's renaming it with a timestamp, and instantly starting a new trace. So and if everything was as it was supposed to be, that's okay, sorry. That's always a matter of security. Sorry. Here's the deadlock from just right now. Oops. Okay, so that means now we have an even more complex process. We have a trace and a file. Hooray, that's it. Again, that's 100% onboard features, just a little bit coding in SQL. No, nothing more. In the older days, there was the option still exists, but I do not recommend it today, just to be complete. There's also some trace flags you can set, and then SQL Server will write this deadlock information into the SQL Server error log. But this is a text file, and then grabbing out the information from a text file, that's hell on earth. Yeah, so XML, that's what we want to have. So I wouldn't go for this trace flags. Oopsie. So this is how we can easily keep track about blocking and deadlocking. So once we learn about what's going wrong, we have to open our minds to develop solutions, to fix that somehow. And yeah, actually this starts with a workflow. So this is the challenge actually the business consultants have to face. You have to really have a close look into the business of the process of the users, because we just have to be aware that just posting standard purchases versus standard invoices, that there can be any single points of failures, like GL entry or any warehouse stuff and so on, reservations and so on. This is something you should know, learning from your experience, knowing the application very well. So that is where it starts. If you know already this is potentially problematic, then maybe it's wise to even adjust the workflow a little bit. And then, of course, it depends how the business processes are implemented in the system, how it is encoded. So from a technical framework, we have several things we can do, using row locking to avoid escalation, using repeatable read isolation, being a little bit not too generous with lock table commands and so on, and lots of other stuff. Additionally, what is important today is to really think about how data is stored. Honestly, when we were working on the native database, developers cared shit about all this. Because it was simply working, or actually we didn't have any way to influence that. With SQL Server, it is most important to really think about how data is stored, how it is accessed, how long are transactions, when do I start locking, when do I commit, do I have any overlapping result sets? This is the challenge we have to face. So there is no silver bullet, and we pretty soon end up really focusing on very specific problems that only occur on a specific system. When it's about deadlocks, there are some other things to consider with a big question mark. The problem with the deadlock was that we had this crossover locking situation, which was annoying because one user gets an error message. If both processes, if both Anna and Betty would have started in the same sequence, so both starting with the sales header and then continuing with the purchase header, I just got maybe a block, but no deadlock anymore. So locking resources in the same sequence avoids deadlocks. But this is easier said than done. So once upon a time, there was a tool, the performance troubleshooting toolkit. There was a feature where you could assign locking order rules, and you could check the application code against these rules. You get a form with locking order rule violations and so on. And even if you just compare standard business process, just standard Cronus database, you get these locking order rule violations, because it's not that easy to really accomplish this. Of course, it should be an approach, and in your custom development, I guess you have a bigger chance to implement this than modifying the standard or something. Another thingy is using semaphore locking. That's kind of traffic light switch telling other processes halt. That could be smooth, that there's just a traffic light and a process is reading the traffic light and just looping and waiting until the light switches from red to green. That's not really a technical block, but it's still just waiting, waiting without a block. And the other funny advice you get in some very older Microsoft documentation is you should lock a common master resource. That's a good one. How to do that? An extreme example. You start every business process throughout the whole system. You start everything with the same speech. GL setup, lock table, GL setup, find first, GL setup, modify. You cannot lock harder. And if you do that throughout the whole Navision system, I grant you 100% money back guarantee. You will never have a single deadlock. For the sales guys, that's very attractive. They can sell Navision with one single user license. You just need to make sure that you have a large office where you can queue the 150 users in front of that single PC. Yeah, because I hope you get my point. This is what happens if you do this locking common master resource. That's maximum serialization, zero parallelism. So that should not be the first shot you fire when you encounter deadlock. Yes, it resolves deadlocking issues, it avoids deadlocking issues, but this should be implemented in a very focused scenario, only where it's really necessary as kind of last line of defense. So, and have in mind, semaphore locking is something different than queuing data. Queuing data, that is maybe a smart solution, because queuing means you just press F11 to post something, and it's not the user process now waiting for the posting to be accomplished. No, why not just put it in some queue and let it post asynchronously with an application server? Asynchronous processing does not mean post once per night. Asynchronous processing could mean you just have a little delay of a few seconds or maybe a few minutes. This is the same idea we see in NAV 2013 using the job queues. Yeah, where a user just says fire and forget, and then it's put into the queue. The user can continue working, yeah, and then it's just queued, and then a separate process is taking care about the postings. Avoiding blocks for the user, giving good user experience to the human being that is doing something. Yeah, so this is just some general advices. Again, we will end up in very individual problems in real life scenarios. Anyway, I would to show you some, let's say, classic examples about blocking issues we have today in the current Navision versions. Just to give you some inspirations of what's going wrong and how you can solve it. All these examples I'm presenting now are provided under NG, which means no warranty, no guarantee, no support, and use at own risk. Yeah, so don't blame me if you screw something up. Yeah, starting with the document dimension thingy. This is a problem that will happen to anybody working with dimensions in the current systems. It's just a matter of how many dimensions you use and how many documents you have. Because this is the general structure of this table document dimension. And here, especially the clustered index. The clustered index, that's the index that defines how the records are sorted in the table. And this is the standard sorting order. When you have a sales post, Navision will query the header and the line dimensions. So if this process A wants to post order number 100. Oopsie, that was too much. It wants to post order number 100. Without using row locking, without using repeatable read isolation, we will get a range lock starting from here down to there. And that means if user number B wants to post order number 200, pity, it will get blocked here. And this is a problem that sooner or later always occurs. It's a matter how many documents you have, because the core problem here is that the table starts first with the headers and then the lines. The more documents you have, the greater gets the distance from header to line. And the greater gets the range, the greater gets the damage. Yeah, even without repeatable read isolation or stuff like this, you can fix that pretty simple by just changing the clustered index. So sorting the data in a different way. Now using the document number as a primary criteria. Same query, same range lock, no problem. Yeah, just up my mind how to sort the data, how to store the data, can avoid conflicts. I can show you later on how to change the clustered index if you haven't done that before, or maybe just do it right now so I can check this out.